What are you doing? What do you promote? Oh, okay.
Yes, come.
You waiting your wife?
Thank you.
No, I actually wasn't waiting for my wife, but it was very nice of them to ask. That was some massage ladies out the front of the nightclub area in Seminyak. They're right outside Bali Joe's. And yeah, like they would have been luring you back to the so-called day spa and offering a sort of something different to what you first went there for. And also, like in these small massage places, it's very, very easy for you to lose money while you're having your massage. Sometimes you'll get 1 or 2 or 3 other girls join in and start massaging the other leg, and then at the end they'll argue that yes, you had 2 girls, so you need to pay double. Sometimes you'll actually lose money out of your wallet that you've got in your clothing that's sitting next to you by the massage table, and sometimes, you know, you might get pickpocketed as you're being distracted by all of this loveliness or kindness and warmth, which those ladies didn't really allude to me, but exude to me. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the massage situation, is that you need to stick to the major on the street Kala spa type places, or the upmarket places on the main road, very, very obviously open, and you can see what's going on in there, and you can realize what's about to happen when you go in, which is that you will have a good traditional massage. Alright, let's look at money changes. It's an ongoing thing. It seems to have been around forever in Bali, and some of them are like really, really good at it. I can't even figure it out sometimes, I mean, with the calculators. But firstly, look, the main thing is that they do sleight of hand. So they're like doing magic tricks with your money. They count it out and then hand you back the wad and take half of the wad from you as you grab it. So that's kind of the main one. So that the one and only way to avoid that is for you to be the last person to count and touch your money. That solves that problem if possible, but you may find a bit of to and froing between you and the chappie or lady, as it may be. The next thing is that they have dodgy calculators. They've rigged them, and you'll get some interesting results. I don't know how they do that. Another thing is that they might sort of operate their calculator differently, or they might change the rate from what is advertised and say, yes, this is how much that ends up being, and then you have to go and do the sums in your head, and that messes with my head, but I don't know how you will go with it. And then the other thing is that just to get big notes, like 100,000 rupiah notes, the biggest notes you can get, because once you get into the really small money, and if you're trying to count that, it's just going to get more and more complex. So yeah, that's about all I can tell you about money changes, is that it's ongoing and it's tricky, and if possible use an ATM. So let's go straight to the ATMs. Now the problem with the ATM is that they have really good card skimming devices in Bali. They come from, you know, other parts of Asia. They're pretty expert at it. So they'll have like a whole top plate that goes over the top of the original ATM, you know, board, keyboard, etc., and grabs your information, and then they will pickpocket your card as you're exiting or somewhere down the street, and then they will go back and take your money. I guess that's how it works, or however else, you know, card skimming works, which is just to get the numbers and do some other sort of magic tricks on the internet, I guess. I don't know. But the thing that you can do at the ATM is go there and check it and wiggle it and grab it and try and move stuff. And if it doesn't move and it's solid, then you will be fine. And I've done another video on just the ATMs themselves, which you could have a look at. And that is just telling you which ATM to use, which is, I'll tell you quickly, is the really big booths outside the front of a major hotel, or very close by, in groups next to a major hotel where there's security guards around, and you don't get dodgy people hanging around. The skimmers will hang around actually there, and they'll say, oh no, this one's not working, go to this one, and they'll point you to another ATM. So yeah, that's your little tricks for ATMs. Taxis can be tricky in Bali. So what is the scam? Well, the scam is that they don't want to run the meter usually, and these are just certain taxi companies. The one to go for is a Bluebird taxi. You pretty much can't go wrong with them. Although I have had a Bluebird taxi driver trying to talk me into just a fixed price for a distance, which was about 2 kilometers. So when you hop in a taxi, any taxi, just say, can you run the meter? Meter, please. They understand. And so that's the main thing, is that they don't want to run the meter. The other thing is that the meter can be dodgy. I've been in one of those too, and the meters just would click over a few notches and then it would click over really quickly. And I started just laughing, and I'm just looking at the driver and going, the meter, man. He's laughing as well, going, oh yeah, my boss, he doesn't fix, It was just funny, and sometimes you do have to laugh. You're not talking about sheep stations. You're not losing hundreds of dollars, hopefully, but on longer trips, you need to use the meter. Make sure that you get the meter in place, and make sure that you go for the Bluebird taxi. It's a massive group. It's from Java. It's been copied now by Blue Bureau Group, and they've got the similar looking cars, similar looking uniform, almost very hard to distinguish. So make sure you go for that Bluebird taxi, and that's just the way to go. I mean, that's the safest bet. But the other ones are usable. If you're sort of using these tips, is just make sure that they get the meter on, make sure that the meter's not running incredibly quickly, and hope for the best. Hold on and hope for the best. You'll see a lot of drivers in the streets, or people in the streets yelling out, taxi, taxi. And this will just be like a private car, a private driver, and everyone's a private driver in Bali. They either have a friend that has a car, or they've got a car, and they're desperately looking for work. And if you want to take that route, then you can. But I mean, I wouldn't, because they're going to usually sort of try and lure you to some amazing place that nobody's ever seen before, or a restaurant that has the best food in Bali, or a store that has the cheapest prices, and they will get huge commissions from these places, and then they will always be incredibly expensive. So, in essence, avoid those kinds of drivers on the street, hawking kind of drivers, and get a Bluebird taxi.
I got all night to party. All night.
And tomorrow.
And tomorrow.
The temple guardian, or temple holy man. This is a chap that will hang around with a bucket often, and a closed lid and a little slot, and you pop your donations in for the good, for the betterment of your life and the ongoing betterment of the temple, etc. But actually, it's just money for that dude with the bucket, and there can be a whole bunch of them. The last time I was at Goa Gajar, but look, I went down to the Elephant Cave on my own before it was open, so to be fair, like, I paid no admission or anything like that, and I was the only one there, and this guy looked like about 700 years old, and he was just a lovely chap, and so I gave him some money. I mean, and when I did, like, he'd been there all night sleeping, so he was, sort of looking after the place with other people. I mean, who knows, but they either sleep there, that's where they stay, and they go away in the daytime, and he probably went to get his breakfast, but anyway, as soon as I gave him the money, he left, and then I really did have the place to myself. So yeah, the temple holy man, or the guardian, is often just somebody hanging around the temple. They might offer you like a tour, or say that you have to pay the ferryman, pay the piper, so I don't know, just use your discretion on that one. It's not a real super scam or anything, but it's just somebody hanging around trying to make a dollar. The MINI-MARTs, 7-Eleven, Quickie Mart kind of places are just rife with possibility for getting ripped off. The scams, the main scam is that when you go to the counter, you'll get the incorrect change. Like, that's the biggest one. So you need to, first of all, know what your items are and what they add up to. And, you know, like, get a receipt and then check it. I mean, it's a nightmare. So you've got to really find yourself a local mini-mart that's going to be trustworthy for you, that is going to be somewhere that you can rely on. That's the main scam. But there's another one in that they have ATMs inside, and those ATMs are renowned to be really dodgy. They're expensive, super expensive. They give you rubbish sort of rates, and also they often don't give you your card back, or they don't spit out the money. Like, this is a huge one. I met a guy and he's like, I put my card in and then I get my card. It takes my money, but I don't get any money. So yeah, look, I mean, it's such a tricky one, because you can imagine you go in there for like 3 or 4 items. I mean, I tend to just go in for one thing at a time, whether it be a big bottle of water or, you know, if it's whatever it might be, you know how much that particular item is. And so you look at, you can actually see the amount on the screen, you know, but it's very hard to keep track of all these things. But the scam is, yep, that you get the wrong change, or else they'll say that they don't have the change and can we just sort of round it up, and they'll do that every time. Yeah, so that's, I mean, good luck in the mini-marts, because it's a minefield.
Absolutely the best time of day right now, and it is exactly, I have no idea.
The fish restaurant, restaurant on the beach that serves fresh fish scam. It's a long one. It's basically, you know, kind of similar to the other scams in that the price that you pay for the fish may be different to what's advertised outside. And also, like, you may find out later after you've eaten the fish that was by weight, not by per fish. So there's that. And also, down in Jimbaran Bay and places like that where they serve, you know, they have those restaurants on the sand, on the water. If you haven't been there, fantastic, you got to go. But yeah, their scales are dodgy. They've dodged them up. And there's the old urban myth of the guy that gets his fish weighed, and then he says, oh, have you got a can of Coke? And he says, yeah, and gives him a can of Coke. He says, oh, can you just put that on the scale? I've always wondered how much a can of Coke weighs. And this guy actually happened to know how much a can of Coke weighed. And when he put the can of Coke on, it weighed a hell of a lot more all of a sudden than a normal can of Coke. So yeah, that was the, you know, I think perhaps urban myth, but it does prove that, yeah, at least, you know, tells the story of the fact that it illustrates, is what I'm trying to say, the fact that, yeah, the scales can be dodgy at fish restaurants if you're eating fresh fish out of the tank or down by the sea in Jimbaran.
You have to pay again to go to the beach?
Yeah.
Bullshit.
If you're riding a scooter in Bali, as I always do, as you can see in this entire vlog, the police do like to stop you and get a little fine out of you for one thing or another. So you want to make sure that you're not carrying a lot of money in your main wallet, because they will tend to go through that wallet and see how much you've got, and then sort of tell you how much you might need to pay as an on-the-spot fine. So best to, they're not going to go through your shoes and your other pockets and stuff. So let's just put it that way and leave it at that. But yeah, look, make sure you've got your helmet on, you've got your license, a copy of your license and your wallet and all the usual stuff. But yes, when you see those police in the southern areas, KUTA especially, then they will stop you for a little police check, in inverted commas, and yeah, they'd be pretty keen to relieve you of a bit of cash. Uber drivers are now starting to go a little bit rogue, and they are going to try and get some more money out of you over and above what the app has quoted, saying that the app was wrong or something along those lines. And that's true for, I'm pretty sure, Uber Eats and things like that. So that's just a quick one, but Uber's cheap, so you're saving money. It's technically illegal in Bali, but it's, I don't know, maybe tolerated at the moment. It definitely exists, and it's well hated by taxi drivers, and there are big signs around different areas with Uber and a big cross through them, and saying don't use Uber and get a taxi, and like this. So I personally, I don't really even want to be in one, because I mean, there have been altercations with taxi drivers, fisticuffs, physical altercations. You don't need to be around that stuff if you don't have to. You don't want to if you don't have to. And yes, they're just going a bit rogue. They might get a bit lost, or they might take you for a bit more money than you should be paying. So that's the little Uber scam.
Terima kasih banyak. Om santi om.
There are people wandering the streets in the south of Bali, again around KUTA mostly, maybe Legian, and they have some kind of little deals for you, like they want to do a survey, they have with possible prizes, or they might give you a scratchy ticket. And it ends up being like something to do with timeshare, etc. So this is how it goes. You'll be approached on the street by someone wanting to do a quick sort of 1-minute survey about your holiday, or give you a promotional scratchy. They say, look, it'll only take a minute, and then abracadabra, you have won an iPad or an iPhone or amount of money or a luxury holiday. But you need to fill out a form or go to this hotel at a certain time. So both of these sort of angles of the scam are sort of solely to get your details and invite you to a no strings attached free breakfast, lunch with free pickup and drop off. That might be one of the ways that it goes. And if you go along, you'll more than likely find yourself in the hotel in the middle of nowhere with some very pushy salespeople trying to sell you an expensive timeshare. It can get really aggressive, it can get really ugly, and they may sort of refuse to kind of drive you back. They might leave you in the middle of nowhere, having to find your own way back. You probably haven't gotten your free food, and you've probably just wasted half of your day of your holiday, So, I mean, the old adage is, if it seems too good to be true, then it probably is. I mean, I don't think you're going to go to Bali and win an iPhone, are you? Not possible, I wouldn't think. So that's about it for the scams for this episode. Let me know if I've forgotten any. I mean, I haven't gone into the detail about, when you're bartering and you're shopping and people sort of can try and rip you off for prices, and, on the beach, when you've got people on the beach, those prices are going to be higher than you can get in the stores or the markets. And the massages on the beach, and you'll get other people coming up and they'll try and up the price, and I mean, those are not really scams. They're just like a business approach to enhancing their income, But as far as scams go, like I fell for 2 of them in the last trip, and I've been going there for the last more than 30 years, sort of 6 months at a time. So, I mean, my trusty driver at the time, a new driver, she decided that we should go to some amazing rib restaurant, because that's what she felt like. I said, yeah, just do whatever you want. And then, it ended up being a magically massive price for these ribs, and I just paid it. It was like $30 or something, $40. I mean, it should have been like $3. And she got a massive commission out of that, and good on her. And she also lost me as a client, which would have been a kind of a good client to have, don't you think? Because I use drivers a lot when I'm over there. When I'm not on the bike. But anyway, that was the scam sort of episode, and we'll get into the dangers next time. Hope you've enjoyed it, and feel free to subscribe, like it, and tell your friends about the channel, and most of all, just enjoy Bali.